I quit my job with no plan. No offer lined up, no real backup, just a decision I made on a Tuesday afternoon after one too many bad weeks. Here's exactly what happened next, including the parts that didn't go the way I expected. I'm not going to pretend the reason was some brilliant strategic move. It was burnout. The job had been grinding me down for over a year, and one day the cost of staying just felt higher than the cost of leaving. That's a real reason. It's just not a financial plan. Here's the honest starting point, the number that actually mattered. I had about 4 months of expenses saved. Not 6, not 12, 4. I told myself that was probably enough because I figured I'd find something new in 6 to 8 weeks. I want you to remember that number because it's wrong and we'll come back to it. For context, that 4-month number actually put me ahead of a lot of people. According to Bankrate's 2026 emergency savings data, only 46% of Americans have enough savings to cover even 3 months of expenses, and nearly 1 in 4 have no emergency savings at all. So I wasn't reckless by national standards. I was just wrong about the timeline. The first few weeks felt great, honestly. I updated my resume, sent out applications, told myself this would move fast. 6 to 8 weeks, that was the plan in my head. Here's what I didn't know at the time and what the actual data says. The median length of a job search right now is around 10 weeks, about 2.5 months. But the average is over 22 weeks, more than 5 months. That gap between median and average exists because a meaningful chunk of job searches stretch much longer, and that long tail pulls the average way up. I was budgeting for the median. I should have been budgeting for the average. By month 2, the optimism started cracking. Applications went out, most went nowhere, and I watched my 4 months of Runway turn into something closer to 2.5, faster than I expected, because a few unplanned expenses showed up in the middle of it, the way they always do. So I changed 2 things. First, I cut spending hard, not symbolic cuts, actual ones, canceling subscriptions, cooking instead of ordering, the boring stuff that actually moves the number. Second, I picked up freelance work in my field, not my dream outcome, but real income that stretched the runway by weeks I didn't have before. Here's the part worth doing the math on. Cutting my monthly expenses by even 15% didn't just save 15%, it directly extended how many months my existing savings could cover, because the math runs both directions. Less burn per month means more months of runway from the exact same pile of cash. Month 4 was the hardest. My original runway estimate was basically gone. The freelance income was inconsistent, and I seriously considered taking a job I didn't actually want, purely to stop the bleeding. I want to be honest that this is a normal point to reach, not a sign that quitting was a mistake. In the end, it took me about 5.5 months from the day I quit to the day I started something new, close to that national average I mentioned earlier, not the 6 to 8 weeks I originally told myself. Looking back at the real numbers, the gap cost me roughly 5.5 months of reduced income, several $1,000s more than my original 4-month estimate covered, and a noticeably more stressful back half of the search than the front half. So here's the honest reframe. Quitting without a plan isn't brave, and it isn't reckless either by default. It's a math problem with a real, knowable probability distribution behind it, and most people, myself included at the time, plan against the best-case timeline instead of the realistic one. If you're considering this, there are 3 numbers worth knowing before you do, not after. 1. Your actual monthly burn rate, not your estimated one, your real one. 2. The realistic timeline for your specific field, not the optimistic one, the kind of data we just looked at. 3. The minimum income you could generate in the meantime, even imperfectly, because that number changes your runway more than people expect. Quick recap. I had 4 months saved. The real average search length was over 5 months. I closed that gap by cutting spending and picking up freelance income, and it still took about 5.5 months total. The lesson isn't don't quit. It's quit with the real numbers, not the hopeful ones. If you want more honest breakdowns like this, of real financial decisions and the real numbers behind them, subscribe. See you in the next one.